Welcome to Am I the Bleep? Welcome to Am I the Bleep, the podcast where we say Am I the Bleep 100,000 times and determine who's the bleep and determine who's not the bleeps on a 4-point bleeper. Isn't that right, John?
My jaw doctor said I can't keep saying "Am I the bleep" over and over again. I'm
Why
not
not?
allowed. It's just I'm tearing the joint apart.
The fabric of my being.
Literally the fabric of my jaw. It's my jaw is actually all jacked up now because I said "Am I the bleep" about 50,000 times. So welcome to Am I the Bleep. This is the last time we're going to say it.
Shit.
You don't get to know what podcast you're listening to. You just have to take it on faith that this is a podcast where two coaches read Am I the Asshole posts on Reddit and then coach the people in them and rank them on a 4-point scale. And that's all you get to know about it. Don't ask any questions. Don't ask us to repeat the title ever again.
We're not going to do it.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
That'll be our spin-off podcast, Doctor's
Orders.
Things where I say stupid thing and you're like, you're not allowed to say that. Doctor's Orders.
Yeah. Doctor's Orders, you have to jump up and down 50 times.
Speaking of Doctor's Orders, you mentioned the fabric of your jaw, and I'm wondering if it's suede.
The fabric of my jaw is made of crochet fabrics.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of can like loosen it up and then unhinge my maw like in a horror movie, and it's been really effective. It's been really effective for eating, for other things. Don't worry.
Everything except saying "Am I the bleep?"
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah, that's done. That's over with it.
Are you going to read one of these posts, or do you think that we should talk about my jaw more? What do you think is funnier?
We'll read the post, but okay. Shut up, John. You're not allowed to talk. You're not allowed to talk about it anymore. But so normally we don't read the posts at all before bringing them onto the show. But this one has a special place in my heart because I posted it on Instagram. And just the fights that I've had to have are wild, and I'm really excited to hear your opinion on this. We're gonna put you in the hot seat. I'll read it first. It's gonna be great.
Ooh, sorry, the seat was too hot.
What the? Are you on a heated seat?
You said you putting me in the hot seat. So
I thought you were in a literal.
It's called acting.
Oh God,
I'm a consummate professional.
I totally believed you. Oh God. All right.
You might not be the bleep, but you definitely are gullible.
So fucking gullible. That's okay. Am I the asshole for refusing to help my daughter with her car payment because she is a stripper? I, a 47-year-old male, have a 22-year-old daughter. She's in college and lives on campus. I agreed to help her make car payments since she was in school. I was recently informed by a young man I work with that my daughter strips at a club about 40 minutes away. I confronted her on this, and she said she didn't plan to do it after she graduated, and she needed some money. I told her, then work at McDonald's, not to use her body. We got into an argument, and I asked her to quit streeping. Meryl Streep. We got into an argument, and I asked her to quit stripping and get a decent job then. She refused and said stripping was easy money. So I said, there was no need for me to pay for her car payment anymore since she's making money so easily. She got upset and said that wasn't fair and that she doesn't make enough for that. I told her to figure it out. She told my wife about what happened. My wife is upset by her job of choice, but say it's unfair for me to stop supporting her so suddenly over an argument. I think it's perfectly fair. It's my money and my decision when to cut it off. It doesn't say it here, but are they the bleep? Dr. Jonathan Rom, unhinge your maw and speak your truth.
Why did this cause arguments, I wonder?
It was first I'll let you speak your truth. Okay. And then and I want to see whose side you're on.
Oh man. Okay.
The seat is hot again. This time I won't.
let's break this apart, shall we? Okay, so this 22-year-old is working a profession where it is generally both societally accepted and not societally accepted. You know, you have no problem with strippers existing as long as your, you know, daughter isn't one, is
Mhm.
usually the rule of thumb. Um I think I think that there's a very easy answer here, and it's that the guy who went up to the father and told him that he saw his daughter at the strip club is the worst thing I could ever imagine telling a person. The reveal behind that statement is, I went to a strip club, I clocked your daughter, and I was just like, oh well, I might as well tell her dad. That is by far the most wretched reaction I could think to have. But
And by the way, nobody brought that up in the
oh
whole
yeah, no.
in 500 comments so far and 120,000 views. Nobody brought that up.
Oh, that's evil. It's evil. It's evil that this happened. But now that
Yeah.
it's happened, the reaction by the dad is pretty not cool,
Hmm.
because of course it's the dad's right to not, you know, cut off payment. The daughter is an adult, you don't have to support your daughter. But to stop supporting your daughter because of a decision she is making to, as safely as she can, as quickly as she can, as efficiently as she can, while being a student, make large amounts of money, is very unfair. Because if it was something a little bit more traditional, something a little bit more, actually, no, sorry, I take that back. It's very traditional. Famously, the people who are working in strip clubs
Good
are
save. Good
students
save. Yeah.
trying to make money. And so it's very traditional. It's actually quite common. And that this dad is putting a hard foot down just speaks to his discomfort. I think it's okay for people to be uncomfortable with things. I think that if we start shutting people down because they're uncomfortable with things, we're never going to get anywhere in terms of being progressive. Most things that people are uncomfortable with, it tends to be due to a lack of information, a change in
Yep.
their, a challenge in their traditional values that they don't have any more context for. They don't know a lot about the thing, and I think that the daughter explaining that she is trying to make money easily is a misrepresentation of, you know, just how both lucrative the actual profession of stripping is, but also how it is time efficient, that it makes sense for her, and that if he could set, if like she should say back, listen, if you're this uncomfortable with it, if you could find me a job that allows me in this amount of time to make this amount of money, okay, you know, maybe that's a compromise she'd be willing to make. But that would be a conversation. And I think the asshole thing is that this wasn't a conversation. This was I don't like what you're doing, I'm cutting you off, sucks to suck. And I think that is not very good parenting, no matter if you're traditional or if you're progressive or whatever. I think not having conversations with your children but giving them directives, especially when they're adults, is a really bad way to get them to do anything that you think that they should, even when it's important, even when you're in the right. I don't think the father's in the right, but even if you feel like you're in the right, you should probably talk. I think this is actually a huge asshole move. I'm gonna go say I'm gonna go ahead and say full asshole. A 4 out of 4. No buts about it. No assholes about it.
The
I
the
mean, one
the
asshole, one butt about it.
the father is the asshole. The
Yeah, the
absolute.
father is the asshole. The daughter has done nothing wrong. If frankly, if I had ways to make money like that in when I was 22 years old, I probably would have done it. I was, you know, not exactly rolling in it at 22 years old. So I think that it makes a lot of sense for this woman to be trying to do that. But that, independent of whether what side you fall on this issue, not having conversations with people is like the biggest it's the quickest highway to being an asshole on this show. And I think this is like the least conversation we've seen in a long time, where it's just like, nah, fuck you. Nah, oh, easy money. Oh, okay. Well, then you don't need me to
Yeah.
help you at all. It's like, well, okay. Like that's just punishing someone for something you disagree with. It seems like a mean thing to do.
And thanks for bringing up that the famous AC/DC song.
Oh, fastest highway to asshole.
you, you had one more second left on the clock before I brought it up.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate
You're
that.
you're totally right. So every day I post, sort of, I read the story. They're not my stories, but I read the story, and then later on that day I post an analysis of that post, kind of like what we do on here. And here is pretty much what I said, where we can talk about the money, we can talk about the career choice to each of them independently. But at the end of the day, if you're a father going to their daughter to have a conversation, like whatever that conversation might be, whatever in their head said, hey, this guy at work said you're a stripper and I need to be a real jerk about it to you. What kind of relationship do you want with your daughter? Do you want one where you're like, oh, you're making poor life choices, you're cut off? And for those of you who are listening and not watching, the poor life choices was heavily in air quotes for me. But anyone who just cuts somebody off because of the choices they make when they're 22, that's so evil. If I got cut, I worked really, like, not like I was working like 60 hours a week, but like if like sometimes I needed help. If I would have gotten cut off for every choice I made when I was 22, I'd be like, I don't know where I'd be, to be honest. That's brutal. And also, so there's that piece to this. There's a second piece, which is, sure, this father is paying for the car payments. There's also insurance, there's gas. You're a college student, you need to eat, you need to live somewhere in a dorm. You need to, once every month or so, let loose a little bit. That's a lot of money you need to make to support yourself. And what if this daughter is also trying to save up for med school or somewhere that's not in Canada that costs money to go to? If this is an effective way for them to make that money, who the hell are you to say that that's not good? That's super resourceful. And if they're good at it, they're good at it. Who cares? So that's my own bias being thrown here, and I'm gonna
Yeah,
say
like,
it.
and the funny thing is, we're not here to moralize, right? Like,
Yeah,
whether we disagree with the dad is, it's immaterial. It's the way, it's the trying to accomplish the goal of getting your daughter to stop stripping. The last thing you should do is give her less money. It doesn't make any sense.
yeah, and I think the thing here too is it's not about the money, it's not about the career. If you want to have a relationship that's closer and more fulfilling with your daughter, one where, as you're growing old, you're gonna still talk to each other. Don't play the authoritarian, like hardcore parent card in this way. It's like, I'm gonna say it. This is a form of control. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, I know that you need a car to go to school, and I'm gonna take it away, knowing that you can't afford it because you're doing something that I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
At 22, in most cases, you're still somebody who needs help to
Yeah.
financially support yourself in 2023 in this day and age. And if you're coming from a family of means who's just like, no, 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 no more car if you're a stripper, that's so evil. And I don't think in the history of the show, in all probably 7 episodes by this point, there's been someone who we've been like, no, 100% this is an asshole move. But
Yeah.
I will say, for redemption purposes, the fact that they posted it here leads me to think that they're
Yeah.
looking for, like, maybe I fucked up. And I can totally appreciate that. Everyone in their life has been an asshole. There's been a time where you've done something that is just like not cool. And that's okay. We all do that. That's part of life. What's important is that you check yourself, you take a step back, and you say, okay, the way I acted in this case really, really did some damage. And how do I move forward from this? So, John, if
Yeah.
you were this father,
Well, so it's funny that you say that because I was gonna say, I have some thoughts.
do
Please
it.
finish your question. Finish your question.
Dr. John Rom, if
Yes.
you were the father in this situation, what would you do? You've done this. Where do you go to from here?
So every time I've ever tried to control someone in my life, it's because I was scared. And I think that is
Yep.
most people. I think most people, when they get scared, they say, I'm not in control of the situation. So I'm going to exert what power I have in order to make that happen. And I think that the safe feeling of control, as Mr. Rogers might put it, is very valid. You're allowed to want to feel that. And I think that's fair, but controlling others is not a way to do it. Controlling others is an illusion because you don't really have control over other people. You can make their lives worse or better, but you can't really control them. You can just you can ruin relationships or enhance relationships, basically. So I think that the energy here that you could put towards addressing what are you specifically afraid of? What If I was the father, I'd be asking myself, what do I not want to happen? Do I not want my do I am I trying to avoid my daughter being unsafe? Okay, well, there's lots of ways to address that have nothing to do
Mm-hmm.
with her quitting her job. Am I trying to address that she is maybe doing something that I consider immoral? Okay, well, unless I can get her a job that pays as much with that amount of time spent working, then I need to address, like, what about it do I find immoral? What do I find here that what value is she violating? Is there a way for me to either grow into accepting what she's doing into my morals, or is there a way for me to communicate what I'm worried she's violating, what she's doing wrong, and ask her what she thinks about that? Like, is she I'm for example, let's take this a crazy
Do it.
direction.
Do that
Let's say the
example.
dad's a feminist, and the dad's just like, I think that objectifying women's bodies for money, no matter how much freedom it might give a person, overall does bad for society for women. I personally don't think that. I don't think you do, Jonathan. But
No, the opposite.
let's say that then that is a great conversation to have with your daughter. I'm obviously that doesn't seem like to be the thing here, but I was giving the most generous example, and the
Yep.
least generous example is just like, I don't want my daughter being ogled at by dudes. That is still a worthwhile conversation to have, but have a conversation and figure out exactly what it is you're feeling after you chill the fuck out, because oh my god, what a poor reaction to finding out that news, and also counterproductive because she's gonna be hella stripping after this to make up for the payments that you have stopped.
Yeah, and I think it's important. Like if living with horse, if you're listening to this, take the time, have a conversation with your daughter, and step it up. Because I swear to God, as my
Swear,
grandmother say,
swear it.
that we almost brought back the 10-point asshole scale. That would have been a 10
Manslaughter.
out.
10 out of 10 manslaughter.
Well, 9
Telling
out.
your daughter to stop stripping so she can't pay for college.
Well, actually, this is 10 out of 10
uh
mansplain.
Mansplain, yeah,
Not
sure.
manslaughter, mansplain. Just as bad.
Yeah. This might be the first one where I'm willing to say this could be fake, because it just feels like something you'd see like on Family Guy, or just like it
Yeah.
feels so written, doesn't it? It feels like, what a classic Americana traditional conservative dad thing to do. But no, like, people like this exist, obviously. I just think it's so tropish, but like it's so one-dimensional. It's not what a human being with complex feeling and emotion and a way to think things through would do. So it just sounds like you got angry, you reacted out of anger. You gotta check yourself before you wreck yourself.
And listen, they're
Oh, and stop talking to the guy who who who
11 out of
told
10
who
asshole.
tattled on your daughter. That is the grodiest thing I have ever heard in my life. That is so not cool.
Like, how does that conversation even sound? It's like, hey, boss, you know that chick down at the strip club? Is that your daughter? Like, how does that even happen? Don't do that. Like,
Yeah, are you gonna? I mean, if you,
and I again, I use chick in air quotes. I would never in my life say that, but just throwing my imagination out here, it's like, how did that conversation start?
and
That's
how does
so
it?
wild.
Yeah, and also like, why are you mad at your daughter? And like, the guy going to the strip club is fine, apparently, but like, yeah, okay, clearly a lot is wrong in this story. I can see why it irks so many people one way or another, but holy moly, holy moly, that sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
And 400 people today have commented saying that they're totally on like original poster side. But here on Reddit, for the first time that I've ever seen, everyone's saying that they're the asshole too. So I'm like, if Reddit says that they're the asshole, it must be true. But with that, with on the theme of Reddit,
yeah, let
uh,
me let me hit up another. I'm gonna carry that one for a little bit. That was a big one, but let's go
do you
into.
need a cool down break?
I know what, I'm in the hot seat and my
You're
butt's
good.
warm now, so it's good.
You're stuck.
Um, uh, we got to post. Am I the asshole for telling a morbid joke about my son? I'm sure this is going to be lighthearted and fun already. Asking here because I don't feel comfortable discussing this with family or friends right now. My wife and I have 4 boys: 17, 15, 13, and 10. It's very good timing, pacing. Um, we lost our 15-year-old in an accident last October, and grieving has truly been a process. My wife and I have very different styles of grieving. I really like to talk about my son and what happened to him, but she wants to process things by herself and doesn't want to talk about it. We still have a very close marriage. We just talk about everything other than our son. My wife was out with friends today, and when she got home a few hours ago, she asked me where the boys were. Oh, no. I told her oldest is with a friend, the 13-year-old is out in the yard, 10-year-old is in the basement, and 15-year-old should be right where we left him. Okay. Immediately, she said I was fucked up for saying that. I told her that I cope with humor, and clearly she doesn't. I respect what she does, but she's got to respect what I do. She called me a fucking pig for joking about our son like that and said she was taking the boys out for dinner. While they were out, she texted me to say that she's really horrified with how callous I am about the death of our son, saying she was genuinely concerned I might be a sociopath. When she got home, she went straight to bed. I tried to sit with her and she told me not to touch her. Our oldest asked me why their mom was in such a bad mood, and when I told him, he laughed at the joke. I think my wife is being extremely sensitive about this, but I also can understand this might be a time and place situation. Still, I think place should be my own home. Am I the asshole for telling a morbid joke?
Glad you
uh,
don't have to start this one off, right?
yeah, again, wow, wowie. Yeah, Jonathan, are they the asshole for telling? Okay, know what? First, is it a funny joke? Yes or no? I don't want anything more than a yes or no.
It was good. It was good.
Okay, is he the asshole for telling the joke to his wife?
So I don't think actually. So it's let's take a step back. I feel like in a lot of the episodes of this show we do, somehow we come up to like a thematic piece, and we really don't plan it. But here we don't plan anything. We're the worst at what
Yeah,
should be like, very planned out episode. But
yeah. I write out my thoughts and feelings out onto a paper before we start, and I throw it right in the trash because it is
yeah.
irrelevant to this show. We do no preparation, nothing.
So in this case, okay, first I think it's important to talk about grief. Grief is one of the most complicated fucking things in the world. And
Mm,
it's like how every person is like a fingerprint. Every person who's like a fingerprint might deal with different times of grief, which are also like fingerprints. It's a very complex thing. There's a lot of moving parts to it. especially as a parent. Not even especially, like literally in any case. Now, two people who lost their son together, a joint experience, will also feel grief in a different way. And that could be for a variety of reasons. It could be upbringing, it could be where were you when it happened, it could be, you know, underlying other mental health concerns. It could be like 100 million different things. That's piece one.
Mm.
That's the preface. Now we have two people. We have one who's dealing with the grief of their son in a humorous way, and we have one who needs processing time and needs space to figure all of it out. And that's okay. In any situation, even one that's not a marriage, two people would be dealing with this in a different way. But there is a sensitivity that I have for both of them that I'm like, yeah, like you have to like want to like be okay with the way the other does. But in this case, how could you be, right? Like there's no way they're going to have a safe home when one needs to be all the way out there and one needs to be all the way in. And in this case, and then I'll get to my answer, my response, I promise. But go talk to a grief therapist or a counselor, or go talk to a relationship therapist. You need to both have a safe space to talk together about what you're going through and how to figure out how to communicate in a better way during this. And you also need probably some individual therapy to go through this grief and also for the children. That's that's piece one. Piece two, um, and I think this is like critical. The place that should be your own home is also, in the case of a family, everybody's own home. Like, if you have the control to sort of throw the joke out and not out, like go to the kid who has that same sense of humor and say the joke. You
Mm.
don't need to go to your wife and say, like, hey, I know this is really going to bother you, but I'm going to say it because it's my home. So do I think they're the uber asshole like in the previous case? No, grief fucks everybody up. Like that I can't even imagine like and this is me being like the point of the show is that we're judging people and like I don't even know how I'd be in that situation, like how awful. And like our cricket 2151, like I'm here for you if you need to talk. But yeah, like I would say it's like a little bit of an asshole thing to do. Grief does not make you immune from assholery, but as we said in the previous post, it's about like you're writing the post down here. It's time to reflect a bit and say, like, okay, what's the relationship I want with my wife? Is it one where I'm digging the hole deeper for them? Or is it one where we get to lift each other up? I know that was a little inappropriate. I I was so passionate and said it, and then it was like the worst possible thing to say.
Oh no.
And it's worse because
Oh
like we're talking about
no.
morbid jokes, and here I am.
Oh
Uh,
god.
oh god. But yeah,
Oh man.
like you have to lift each other up, get through this together and separately. So yeah, kind of the asshole, I would say. So like a level, like again, we have our 4 point scale, not the asshole, kind of the asshole, pretty much the asshole, definitely the asshole.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is like somewhere I'd say pretty much the asshole, but then we give like a little grace because of
Yeah.
the grief.
Yeah.
Where do you land? Sorry for my tirade there, and then my
Yeah.
also morbid joke.
No, it was very funny. So I don't think I'm gonna land very differently from you, Jonathan, because I agree with everything you said. I will say that I've grieved before, and I also grieve and work my way through the process using humor.
Yeah,
The eulogy that I gave for my sister was equal parts incredibly depressing and a little bit funny.
it was a beautiful
And
eulogy, by the way. I remember it.
thank you. So I think that I think I understand where this guy is coming from. And I think the lesson that you can learn in this kind of situation is to know your audience. I do believe that you are both sharing in the grieving process, which means that
Yep.
just like she, should respect how you grieve, you have to respect how she grieves, and she's probably not ready, and she may never be ready to joke about this. And for those listening who don't work through stuff with humor, you have to understand, or I'd like you to understand, that people don't work things through things to humor because the thing is inherently funny. But terrible things are in a way absurd. They are absurd. You can't wrap your head around them. And just like absurd comedy, which you can't wrap your head around, there feels like a connection between the absurd unfairness of life and the absurd comedy of life. And so you can end up connecting them in your brain and working through them at the same time, using something, comedy, to work through something you don't totally understand, which is grieving. um the the I only think that this guy is kind of the asshole because he is grieving, and we give grace for that, but also because I think that this is going to be a learning process, and for anyone who's
Yep.
through a learning process, it has everyone fails during the learning process, and this was a failure on your part to be sensitive, and so you grow from it and you learn from it. I always find it funny when people throw around words like sociopath, or like just really extreme things. Interestingly, like the DSM doesn't really go into things like sociopathy and like what exactly that means. Of course it exists, but it's not very clearly defined, which has led people to go and run with it on
And write
television
Dexter.
and write Dexter and be like, it's the actually, what is in the DSM is to not pathologize grief. And that if people are grieving, the way that they act, if they're depressed or if they're happy or if they're joking or if they're losing it or if they're, everything, you can attribute a lot to grief. And you have to be careful what you start diagnosing as a physician and as a professional. And you should be careful how you talk to people who are grieving and what you say to them, because I'm sure that probably didn't feel great for the husband to be told that he's a sociopath for grieving in his own way. So I think you both can learn. I think this is great news. You both can learn how to respect each other's grieving process, and it'll probably, when you work through that, I imagine you are going to feel a very strong connection with each other because you're going to understand each other a lot better. Not to say that this is a good thing altogether, but a good thing can come out of really terrible, terrible things. And I say that from experience. It's a hard process, but you can really grow from it and grow your relationships from it.
Yeah, I think there's this like renegotiation that happens in your relationship when something drastic changes. Like when you start dating somebody, you get to know them, you get used to a certain type of relationship with that person. But when trauma happens, it becomes a new relationship because you now communicate in different ways and there's a healing process. Much like if normally like you each walk up the stairs but somebody breaks their knee, you now have to help them go up the stairs or have a chairlift. The relate and that's not wrong. That's super nice, right? Like but your relationship, certain structures in your relationship change as a result of this trauma, physical or mental or traumatic. Um, and that's it's not okay that this happened to you, but it's okay that you're going to work on that together,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully with a very good therapist. So,
Yeah, that was the other part. Yeah, you should definitely get help for it. It's not something that I expect anyone to do easily on their
yeah,
own. It's something that you'd want a third party to, not because we need to be fixed. Like, you need someone to be the billboard that you plant all the ideas onto,
yep.
and you come up with a coherent picture of what's happening here. It doesn't all have to be inside of your own heads. You can have someone who knows what they're doing help you.
Yeah, and a quick side note, and it's important to point this out. I know we keep saying we're coaches, and then now is like, yeah, you guys should go see a therapist. Why do we do that? Part of what we do is we have an intake call to bring people in and match them with a coach. But sometimes coaching our service is not actually the best fit.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you're getting or you're in need of help, it's important that be it with a therapist, a coach, a counselor, a grief counselor, a specialized therapist, that what you're the time, the money, the effort, because it is a lot of effort that you're going to invest in it, should be with the right person. And in this case, there's a lot of really fantastic grief counselors,
Yeah.
relationship therapists
Yeah.
to tap
Yeah.
into.
I'm currently studying to be a psychotherapist and counselor, and it's very different from coaching. Coaching is very much like fluoride in the water to help protect your teeth, and it might even help your teeth if things aren't going so great. But if things get to a point where like the teeth are falling out of your mouth and everything's gone to hell and you have holes in your teeth, you need a dentist. It's a different
Yeah.
thing. And it seems like the same problem, but the level to how extreme it is and the intervention that would be appropriate changes. In this case, the teeth are falling out of the mouth. It's time to go see your dentist.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The dentist named Crentist, if you're an Office fan. And if you're not an Office fan,
I don't yeah. I don't
but you're an
I
Am I the Asshole fan,
Yeah, I
have
am a
I got the
huge
post for
and
you?
I'm a fan of our podcast. Can I just say that? I think I've listened to every episode that we've recorded and giggled throughout the entire thing while at work. I'm a big fan of all our goofs and our japes and our guffaws. I'm fucking hilarious. You're okay.
Well, that's
You
what I
give
was
good
gonna say.
advice. You give good
You just love the
coaching.
sound of your own voice.
Oh
That's
my
why.
god. Oh, that's if that's the one thing I could change about our podcast is that I would love to not hear the sound of my own voice. It is terrible. It's like listening to the answering machine all the time.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's like.
Yeah.
That was good. You know what else is good?
Yeah, okay, good. Good. Great segue. Do it.
Okay. Am I the asshole for refusing to clean up after my girlfriend even though she was upset?
Hmm.
I've been with my girlfriend for 2 years and she's always had irregular periods. She has some sort of hormonal imbalance, meaning her periods are apparently more difficult. She's been complaining her period was late by like a little over a month.
Wow.
Editing to add, because I don't want this to be biased, we've been together 2 years. During that time, she's occasionally had periods that last 2 months, had a period twice a month, etc. She's been to doctors. I'll say no more as I'm not looking for medical advice. In the past, when she's been on her period, she has bled over bedding, the sofa, the floor, and she says it's because heavy flow. It's heavy flow. She sometimes is in a lot of discomfort, so she's asked me to clean it up. I got home yesterday and it was like everywhere. I can't explain how bad it was. I don't know how she managed it. She said it was heavier because it was late. I told her I wouldn't be tidying up the bed and went to bed. I'd had a really long day. My dad is sick, so I had to spend time comforting my mother, which in itself was hard. Then I spent the day on my feet being yelled at by customers. She was obviously upset, but there's usually discomfort when her period starts, so it's not unusual. I did get out the heated blanket for her and some pain meds. Today I apologized Today I apologized to her for assuming she was going to ask. She said I was, so I said, "Oh, not as sorry then because I wasn't going to tidy it." To which she stormed out, told me I should understand by now that she struggles occasionally and I need empathy. I said she needs to learn she has them enough that she should be the one to clean up after herself. We're not speaking right now. Am I the asshole?
Yeah, a little. Um, I mean, okay. So I understand. I understand coming home tired and not wanting to do things. I think that you had great reasons to be tired, and I think you're going to have to um you're going to have to separate being tired from being an asshole. Being tired and not wanting to do something is perfectly all right. It is all about how you communicate it. Famously, people do not communicate very well when they're tired. So,
Or our writing posts here.
yeah, exactly. Like, if you're tired and you don't want to do something, then don't do it. Explain that you're tired and that you just simply you can't handle this right now. Clearly she can't handle this right now because she's in discomfort and pain. You both can't handle it right now, and that means that the mess is just going to sit for a while, and that is just what's going to happen. It is the conversation the next morning, the real meat and potatoes of this whole story is uh that that she stormed out because you weren't going to tidy it, and then she felt like she's not getting empathy, and you said she has to clean up her own mess. Like, this form of communication is all about here's what you should be doing for me. And that isn't a great way to be in a relationship. I think excuse me. I think one of the
Bless
best
you.
things. Thank you. I think one of the best things I ever heard, actually coughed. So I'm sorry to
Robitussin.
correct you. Thank
Robitussin.
you. I appreciate that. Um, I think one of the best things I've ever heard about relationships is that both parties should be trying to do 51%. If both parties are trying to do 51%, then you're going to land somewhere very, very good. If both parties are trying to do less than that, then you're probably not going to land somewhere very good. Both parties couldn't do the tidying, but you did seem to find energy the next day to fight with each other, which is a great waste of time because it sounds like you both could easily give to each other what you need. You care very much about your girlfriend's discomfort. You care about cleaning the mess. This whole post is basically screaming that. But you don't feel like you should be the one to do it. Well, if that's really how you feel, if that's truly the line for you, you do not want to cross, then you have to say, I am going to do things for you during your time of need, and I will not do this one thing. I won't do this one thing because I, and then you need to actually dig deep and figure out why specifically don't want to clean up after, it's not your mess or her mess. It's your plural mess. You live together. It's in the same space. It's like, this isn't kindergarten. It's not who made this spill. It's you are living together. You share a responsibility to keep the house, hygienic. If it sounds like I'm rambling, it's because to me this is it's both an easy one and a difficult one because I don't have all the information. I don't totally understand what your hangup is about cleaning up after your girlfriend, but I do understand that the way you talked to her wasn't cool. And fun fact, the way that she talked to you also uncool. There's no reason to accuse someone who brings you a blanket and brings you pain medication of not being empathetic to your needs. That's not the case, evidently. So I think that both of you are feeling unheard, unloved, unempathized with, and it sounds like you're perfect together. You're a match made in heaven. Just talk to each other. Just talk to each other
Yeah.
about your needs and draw the lines where you draw the lines. And if you can't meet each other's needs, figure out a way to, compensate for that difference. You know, this sounds like a really shitty problem that your girlfriend has. I've encountered it in my career before, and I know it's not fun. But one day, and trust me, it will happen. One day, you will be in tremendous medical need. Come hooker, at some point, you will need her to be there in your corner when you are in some sort of pain or discomfort. It might be an acute nothing thing like you ate too much or you ate bad food. It might become a very serious chronic thing like she's dealing with. Represent how you would want to be treated in all cases, especially in a relationship. Okay, thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
It was good.
I'll throw it back. I'll throw it back to
Applause.
you, Jonathan. Thank you. What do you think? What do you think about this?
The only thing I would want to add is there's this piece in relationships that's really interesting that I think happens a lot and we don't talk about it. Where we always talk like how one person deals with somebody else struggling, but not how both people function as a relationship when both people are struggling. This is like, in my opinion, a make or break time. Because if you're able to deal with each other when you're both in a shitty mood and you're both feeling like shit and something's not working for either of you, that's the golden ticket to a lifelong beautiful relationship, because it's not always good. Nobody times these issues. These are issues that just happen. Now, coming home, if you're in a shitty mood, you're not feeling well, like you've had a long day, comforting your mom, which is a beautiful thing to do, like
Mm-hmm.
no question about it. Text your girlfriend and say, "Hey, incoming, I'm coming home and I'm really not feeling it. Like, I'm in a foul mood. I need to be alone. I need to take some space to deal with myself." And then she can say, "I'm also not feeling well. Like, we're having a period situation over here. Um, and I'm also not feeling well. Like, I'm not in a good space either." Taking the time to prepare each other for what's about to happen can be really, really important. Because in this case, you just walked in and you're like, nope. And that could have been relatively avoided. I
Yeah.
know me and my girlfriend Cassandra, whenever one of us is just like in a bad mood, like I'll literally text her and say, "Hey, I know you're coming home from a long day of cooking. I need to stare at the wall with a glass of whiskey for like 3 hours. Or I need some video game time and to shut off my brain. I don't want to talk." She'll text me and say, "I'm in a foul mood." And
I like that she texts you like a villain,
yeah,
a villain with his cat.
"I'm in a foul mood."
I'm in a foul mood.
But I know what's gonna happen. I say, "Hey, no problem. You need anything? Like, do you want dinner prepared? Do you want us to order like, you know, shawarma or something like that?" She'll say, "No, I'm good. I just need space."
Mhm.
That's it. It took us time to get there. It was not perfect at the beginning. I can promise you that. But that negotiation is so important, especially because her and me are both hotheads. So we'll just like, like it gets quick to yelling. And as you mentioned, it's such a waste of time. Not only did you not help each other first, you literally made it worse. So it's important to have those conversations together. To answer the question, kind of the asshole for sure. Like, I can appreciate that, you know, with not your day, but you got to talk, man. That's
And
so important.
and let me give you an example of something you could have come up with if you talked more. So obviously this person who was her own individual person in her own right for 2 years ago had this problem and she dealt with it on her own. And if you can't be the person that helps her deal with it, at least just be the facilitator of the things that she used to do whenever she'd have these problems. And if that really was heated blanket and pain medications and that it, great job, you did it. But that should be enough. And the fact that it wasn't enough for your girlfriend, she wanted you to specifically clean the thing, means that you guys don't have good communication on what it is you expect from one another. Very simply put. Um my girlfriend and I, speaking to what you were talking about, have
Yeah.
this thing called ostrich time. And we
Love
came
that.
up with the term because sometimes you just need to stick your head in the sand and drown out the world and not be participating. And that means that even if you love your partner with all your heart, they are not part of the sand dome that you created for yourself. So you need ostrich time. If you guys need ostrich time, it's okay. You just need to learn how to communicate that.
Yeah. And I love ostrich time. I'm going to steal that. It's mine now. Well, it's ours, I guess.
Yeah, we can share it. We'll do a timeshare. The older I get, the less I actually need it because I find that I feel way better hanging out with my girlfriend than being alone. But sometimes I think everyone at some points need to be alone, and that's totally kosher. It's fine.
You know what else is kosher?
Yeah, okay, bring it on.
We never planned this, but it always happens in the nick of time. Um,
Oh, do we have a sponsor? Do we have a
no,
kosher sponsor?
no.
That'd be
Ironically,
exciting.
no.
No,
Ironically, no.
no,
Um,
not this time.
so, if you're interested in learning more about what the heck we do
Hmm.
beyond calling people assholes, which we don't normally do,
No, not
um,
usually.
although right now it seems to be quite a lot of time that we do it,
Yeah.
but we coach for a company called the Journal That Talks Back,
Hmm.
which is basically the coaching version of text therapy. You can track your mood, sleep, stress, journal. Your coach will read and respond to you within 24 hours. You can journal 5 times a day, a few times a week. Your coach is right there on the other side. Costs $200 a month, which is a lot better and a lot more affordable than $200 a session. So you got to try it. Check us out at the journal that talks back.com. Book a call. And if you're still like, I'm not sure what these guys are about, and you want to check out more episodes of our podcast, it's also on the journal that talks back.com/ am I the bleep. You can also find that podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast. Deezer is still a thing. You can say, hey Alexa, play Am I the Bleep? And John, where else can they find us?
We're on Activity Pub,
Mm-hmm.
and we're on Micro Pub, and we're on O Status. We're on all those social media platforms that are definitely currently running
Mm-hmm.
and serviceable and in service. And
Mm-hmm.
if you hit us up on that, or Twitter or YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever, all the other ones, usually at Jonathan
Free, so it's
Friedman,
no,
Friedman 93. What is it?
so things have changed. So
Change
TikTok
our
is
handle.
now Am I the Bleep,
Okay,
which is
that's
more
much better.
appropriate.
Yeah,
On
probably.
Instagram, it's Journal That Talks Back,
Okay,
also appropriate,
sure.
and Facebook Journal That Talks Back as well. So it's much more consistent now. We've ruled out the problem that is me. I just like seeing my name everywhere I can, you know? You like hearing your own voice. I like seeing my name in
Yeah.
lights under the marquee.
Yeah, and if you go to on any of the social medias that I say, it's cool Jonathan's with a Z 6969 420.
Preach.
Yeah.
And
And
what
yeah. Yeah, no. Set
I
me
had
up.
a
Set
good
me
one. I
up.
had a good one.
Set me up. Yeah, do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
And John, if you were going to put one quote under the marquee, take my name out of the lights and put what you want, what would you put?
Those who say that we're in a time when there are no assholes, they just don't know where to look.